Welcome, Tracy. Welcome back.
Hey, what's up?
How you been?
Good. It's been really hectic, but I'm super happy to be here.
I'll just say for those who are wondering why I said welcome back. A couple of years ago, we sat down in a very similar setup, I'd say. Not the same, actually. We were sitting at a friend's house. We recorded an episode on Untriggered, which never went out. It was with me, Amin, and you. And just before we started, I was telling you about how the camera angle on you was completely messed up. And that's why when I saw you coming to India, I was like, I need to do an episode with you.
Okay, can I tell you a secret?
Yes, tell me.
The only reason why I'm here is because I heard that you're giving out sex toys.
Oh, shit! I don't have any of them right now, but I'll bring them on. I'll get them. Of course I will.
Okay, I'm going then. Bye.
Is that the only reason you're here?
No,
Come on,
it's
Tracy.
not the only reason, but I was like, yeah, I get to have a new sex toy. I get to go home with a new toy.
What's up? How have you been?
I mean,
What's changed in the last 2 years since we last met?
So many things have changed. I mean, the world has changed. Life has changed. I mean, I feel like I've definitely evolved. I dropped a new album recently as well.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. It's my third album. And I feel that there's definitely an evolution with that. I'm a lot more secure within myself, but I'm also very aware of my multiple red flags as well. So, but yeah, I'm a lot more...
Were you not aware of your red flags the last time we met?
Yes, I was, but I feel like I have different red flags now.
Hey, let's go. New topic to talk about.
Oh my gosh, it's so exhausting, right? To have to always work on yourself and have all these things to fix, and it's just like, but I'm working hard on like being more present and trusting my instinct and being more aligned with what I say and what I do, the choices I make and what I actually want, and listening to myself and stuff like that. So that's cool.
Yeah, I feel like since the last time we met, you've become a lot more mellow. Like you feel the last time we met, I felt like you were a little more, like, a little louder.
A little louder. That's because I got there and you were like, here, have a shot.
Oh, shit. I forgot about that.
Exactly right.
Would you want to have another one?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
I completely forgot to offer you a drink today. No, I think the last time when we were recording was at a friend's place and all of us were just, like, there was some tension in the air.
Oh,
when none of us knew how to actually speak to each other. And we were just sitting there like,
Yeah, it's because I was the only girl and you were like 4 guys.
Yeah, we just had no idea what to do. Thankfully, one of our friends got the bottle out and he's like, you know what, just calm the nerves. And we all had a shot, and I feel like that's what took off the conversation for us.
That's when it all went downwards,
Yeah. What all did we talk about that day? I'm trying to remember.
I think we talked about sex for sure.
I think that was like the main topic. The hero topic of that episode.
I mean, I feel like you always talk about sex, don't you?
Nah, gone are the days.
That's why he only
Let's talk about
women.
sex.
It's because he wants to get the female perspective.
I do actually want to get the female perspective.
But actually, I feel like... At the beginning, I did judge you a little bit, and I was like, why is he only interviewing women? But then I was like, you know what? Respect, because I rarely listen to any male podcast because they always talk about the same shit. And it's just like men and men talking about the same men things. I mean, the whole world is catered for men. So what are men actually complaining about? I don't know. But like you use your podcast to actually put women's narratives on the spotlight, I think is really interesting.
Thank you so much. I feel that's the reason why I wanted you on board, because the last time when we sat down, when we spoke, unfortunately the episode could not go out for various reasons, but I feel like that was when there was so much more that we learned, because you were bringing in so many different perspectives with everything that you do, right from your music to, your traveling, your relationships, everything that you mentioned. It just was a very different light in which we had never seen things like that. And that's the reason why when you came to India and I was like, you know what, I need to have a conversation with you along the similar lines, if you're okay with having that. Because it's just going to educate so many more people on the way women think, what women want, rather. And because, like you said, men usually tend to be selfish. And as a man, you obviously do, you're not really looking at it from the woman's perspective. So that's where a lot of problems in relationships arise. That's where you do take a hit when it comes to talking to women, approaching them. It just stems with that. So that's the reason why when, you're coming as like, let's just talk about all of this, because you bring a very different light to it.
I mean, I don't feel like men are like inherently selfish, but it's just the way the world is and the way patriarchy exists. It just allows men to be more privileged and only be self-centered.
True.
And just the way everything is made, like even like love movies or porn, everything is more or less described
Catering to
from
the
the male perspective. So it's very, sometimes, it creates a gap between how like both genders think, even though there is not one way, like not all women think in the same way and not all men think in the same way. Like there's plenty of differences, and I can't represent, like whatever I say today is my own perspective, but I feel like we do have like common obstacles and common issues, and it's really important to come together and be able to have a conversation and talk about the different perspectives and how we should unite, because at the end of the day, it's a collective responsibility to make sure that we're all happy in this world.
Okay, I get my table is cluttered, but I have very good reason. I went to the MyMuse site and I saw that they have a flat 40% off going on everything. Why? It's Valentine's Day. The dildo sale is now live with a flat 40% off site-wide, and it just goes on from there. So that means anything you want, there's at least 40% off on it. I got a little too excited and I picked up a lot of things, like my favorite loop over here. But you can get stuff for him, for her, for couples, and I think just go check out the website. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Get something for your loved one this Valentine's Day, and let's get back to the episode. That's very true. That's what I want to do, just to talk to you about all of this, because last time you were giving us such solid relationship advice. You were telling us
I was?
about, I think you don't remember it. So you were just mentioning about how, I think we were talking a lot about sex and how different it is with different partners. And you were mentioning about how when you go to a different city, you have a different partner. And that is something which you usually hear men do. Like, that's how the stereotype.
Yeah.
That guys will be like, oh, I have a girlfriend in this city, even though they would not have it. But since they've heard it, they'll be like, I just be the cool guy and I'll say that I have a girlfriend in every city. But this is the first time that I heard someone like you who was just like, why should boys have all the fun?
Of course.
And you were just like, okay, when I go to Paris, I have a boy. When I go to Spain, I have one. Is it still the case, or have things changed?
It's still the case, but a little bit less, because I'm also trying to have like more mindful sex.
Okay.
I think that before I was like, okay, this guy's cute, I'm just going to go ahead with it. And not a lot of these guys aligned on a mental level with me.
Yeah.
So I feel like my roster has become smaller just because I'm also paying attention to who I give my energy to. And I feel like if you can't have a normal conversation or have something in common with the person you sleep with, even the sex is not going to be great. So I've also been careful to like who I keep in my life. A lot of these guys are still in my life though. It's just that we don't have sex anymore. Some of these relationships have like gone into like friendship, and we check up on each other like every 2-3 months. But
is it possible though for you to just be friends with someone you used to sleep with?
It depends on what kind of dynamic you have in that relationship. But when you feel like the sex isn't working and it's causing trouble within the relationship, but you still have love and appreciation for that person, the mature thing is to allow the relationship to evolve naturally.
Yeah.
And if that evolves into a friendship, then great. If that evolves into, look, I need to cut you off because if not, I'll be like checking your stories all the time or whatever, then that's also okay. I mean, you just have to like, there is no bad or good or right or wrong way of doing relationships. It's just like, do what you feel like you have to do and allow your partner to also like tell you what they need, and then you adapt.
What's your take on relationships? Like a very serious take.
No, not at all. I think I'm very afraid of relationships.
Has that always been the case?
I think... No, I think there was a time, like there was a point where I was in a long-term relationship. I'd been with this guy for like 4 years. We were like about to get married and everything. I brought him to India to meet my family and everything. But then something happened and I was like, oh my God, this is going too fast and I don't know if I'm ready for this.
4 years, you felt it was going too fast.
It was going too fast. And then I was like, is this even the person that I want to create a family with? And then I was like, okay, I need to like question some stuff. And I definitely broke his heart. But I definitely needed that, because even with my music career, I wouldn't have been able to push it if I just stuck to that comfort of being in a relationship and living together and having a normal office job. Like I wouldn't have been able to push myself and really max out my potential. So I was like, I really needed that change. And since then, I feel like I'm really afraid of relationships because, love is complicated.
It is.
It's complicated. It requires so much work. It requires so much communication, so much effort. It requires so much patience. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want somebody to get me. But, people have different cultures. They have different backgrounds. They have different family structures. So it's really hard to find somebody that is just going to, match directly, and that's it. but I am like choosing to see love around me. It's like love doesn't only come from a relationship. It comes from your family, it comes from your friends, it comes from your career, it comes from the things that make you happy on a daily basis, like you working out or you picking a flower on the street or a little girl smiling at you from her pram. It's like all these things are love around us. So I'm like choosing to see that love around me instead of only focusing on receiving the love from a man.
Yeah. Do you feel like, okay, so this might be a little personal. You can avoid
Okay,
it
it's
if you feel like it. But do you feel like that one relationship kind of scared you from everything? Was that something that, you really love this person, but then you realized that, like you said, you felt it was going too fast. But a 4-year long relationship is not too fast. So do you feel like there was some sort of issues, like commitment issues with this person that kind of changed the way you look at people, or, the way you look at relationships?
No, I don't think at that time I had commitment issues because I did feel like we had built something together and it worked for us during that time, but it just didn't work for me for the next part of my life. I feel like, sometimes you choose a partner and that might not be your partner forever. It's just somebody that is good for you at that point, but if you evolve and the other person doesn't evolve, or if you evolve too fast, or you're not evolving at the same pace or in the same directions, then at some point the compatibility is gonna like break off, and it's okay. Like you don't have to stay in a relationship if you guys don't match anymore. So for me, it was just about that, and I do kind of like have commitment issues, but it's not about me not wanting to build something with someone. I think it's more about me wanting a relationship that is gonna be fluid, and it's just not that easy to find. And I do have a tendency to like, when something is not working, I'm like, okay, bye. This is too much for me already. And just like sticking through it and being like, now we're gonna do this, and okay, we're fighting right now and there's plenty of conflicts, but like let's sit down and talk and everything. It also requires the other person to be very patient.
True.
And it's also rare to find that. Like I've been in a lot of toxic relationships with the person like love bombs you at the beginning, and then when you're trying to like tell them what you actually want, there's a lot of like disconnection. But when you find somebody that is actually like, okay, this is your insecurities, these are my insecurities, let's figure it out because we both want to move forward. It's really hard to figure out when the fight is worth it and when it's not.
I feel that also comes with age, because like you said, love bombing and all. I feel that usually tends to happen when you're younger. Once you're older, once you cross the age of 25, you realize how important relationships are and whether you want to be with a person or not. And that's when you feel like whether I really want to work on this relationship or should I just let go of this person, is when once you cross 25, you get to that age of being slightly serious, where you just like, I feel like I should settle down.
I mean, I don't know because I am way over 25. I'm 32.
That's close.
So it's like I still don't feel that, at some point I do think about like, oh my God, I thought I would be married by 25 and now I'm 32. Like, what the fuck am I doing? But I'm like, I don't even know if, I feel like I do want a marriage. I do want like a long-term commitment, but it has to be with the right person. Like I don't want to get like 3 divorces and marry 3 times or whatever.
Exactly.
I just want to make sure that the person that I choose to spend the rest of my life with, there is a base, a foundation to our relationship that is gonna be, like create longevity in the relationship. It's not like, okay, if something happens then tomorrow we break up. It shouldn't be like that. I want to really be able to be friends with this person. So even if at some point we have to sleep in different rooms, cool. If it's an open relationship, then cool, you do your thing, I do my thing. But we still have this thing of like, okay, we're together like forever kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But it's hard to find. And also I feel like as a woman, we have a lot to deconstruct in our way of seeing love and seeing relationships. It's like we've been brought up with all these fairy tales and all these images of what like a relationship should be like, and how the other person has to be a gentleman and cater to our needs, and you click your fingers and he should be here, and it doesn't work like that. And also, I mean, the dynamics in a relationship of like men being very easily taken into violence or anger or this possessive behavior is also something that you have to really pay attention to. So like figuring out how the person is when they're sober, when they're drunk, when they're angry, when they're tired, when they're stressed, it takes a lot of time. So it's just like sticking through all of that with somebody is like...
It's like change of season. You got to see them through every season for you to understand whether you really want to be with this person or not. So you haven't really met someone like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of people in my life, especially one person in my life that has given me that, but it's still work in progress.
Hey, let's go. I'm so happy for you.
It's still work in progress because it takes time, and I overthink a lot. So it's like sometimes I don't know when I'm overthinking and thinking with my fears and thinking with my insecurities and telling the difference between that and actually listening to my instinct. Like sometimes it's hard to differentiate to be like, okay, am I just overthinking?
Yeah.
Or is my gut feeling telling me that I should pay attention to something? And I have this tendency of like, once it's not working, I want to run away. So it's like, okay, stick through it. And it takes time, but it's complicated.
That tends to happen with overthinkers because you always think the worst.
Yeah.
In any situation, you're always putting it to the worst case scenario. And then what happens, you just keep spiraling thereon. Because even I tend to overthink at times. Then when I realize that I'm overthinking, I just catch myself and I'm like, okay, listen, either we're going to go down a spiral now. So you just stop right here, change everything, change your perspective, or just go down the spiral and then you just see how bad it's going to get for yourself. Because that usually does tend to happen with people who overthink a lot.
Yeah, but the spiraling thing never has a good effect.
It does not. It'll never have.
Like the consequences are very drastic. It's like you project ideas on your partner that don't really exist.
Yeah.
But spiraling is definitely something that is very difficult to handle and that requires a lot of like self-discipline. And you got to cut yourself whenever you start spiraling because the effects are so bad. But at the same time, it's very difficult to just expect somebody to stop overthinking.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
And I feel like especially if you're in a relationship where one person is not that emotional, like, one person is the more logical person, the other is the emotional person, that tends to take such a huge hit on a relationship. Because again, working through it, the two of you communicating it with each other and then actually reaching a solution is, I think there's a lot of work that is required in relationships. I was watching this video the other day which was saying why you can't get over somebody you have been with, and it said that usually our attachment styles differ.
Yeah.
So if you're like if you have an anxious attachment style, it said that what you're trying to seek from the other person is what you're lacking, and then when that gets cut off, you start missing that. So the only way to get over them is by working on yourself and improving that trait. So it was just like in case you're a logical person, your partner was an emotional person. That means you lacked the emotional outlook. And now that y'all are not in touch, you miss the emotional outlook to it. And the only way for you to get over that is by becoming emotional yourself. And that's just so much work, like when you think about it. Like, why is life so complicated? Why are relationships so complicated?
It's like, why is it that feeling whole within yourself is so complicated?
Exactly.
It's like we have created all these dependencies on so many things, on like a validation, attention, and all of these things. And it's really hard to like feel 100% fulfilled within yourself, even though like I feel like I have everything. I have a good career.
Yeah.
I am making some money. I am traveling. I have a good family. I'm like, what am I missing? And like I'm working on myself. I go to therapy. And it's like, why is it that all of this is not enough? And that's also, I feel like it's also a choice of perspective. It's like I've learned how to like not look at the things that I'm missing, but look at the things that I have. Like I have so much wealth in my life. Like why am I seeking anything else? And that also changes the types of relationships you get into.
Yeah.
Because I used to be in relationships where men would also be very dependent on me. And it's like, yeah, we had like this emotional bond and, that codependency that was created. And now like I'm starting to like date very logical men. And it's almost like, okay, I need an in-between. Because it's like when you speak to logical men, sometimes they can speak to you with no empathy. And like sometimes all of that is really hard to hear. It's like a punch in the face, when somebody's like, yeah, I'm catering to your insecurities. It's like, oh my God, I'm also a human being, like treat me like a human being. So it's like finding that balance between being logical, being rational, and also having empathy towards the other person is really important, because as emotional beings, I mean, men are also emotional beings. We tend to like only focus on our needs because we're emotional and we want an emotional connection. Yeah. But again, being too emotional and reacting to all your emotions without thinking is also a bad thing. So like, how do we find the middle ground between being logic and also emotional? Like, how do two human beings become become,
Yeah, so like I have a very genuine question right now. Like you said, you have multiple partners. Do you feel like connected with them different levels? And do you have, what sort of communication do you have with each of them? Because it's so difficult, because usually when you have one partner, it takes a lot of communication, it takes a lot of talking to that person to get to know the person, to understand them and to understand their needs. But when you have multiple partners, how does that work? Because of course you're taking into consideration so many more people than just one person. So how does that work when it comes to that?
So before, when I really used to have like active relationships with like these different men that lived in different cities. I think it would all depend on like the needs of that relationship. Like at some point, if one wasn't doing okay, then I'll be more present. But if like he was traveling or I was traveling, we would like take a break or whatever because we were both like busy. But now I feel like I have this one main relationship that I am prioritizing more than others. So I feel like he gets most of my attention. Like I speak to him on a daily basis. Like he knows everything that happens in my life. And then the others are just like people that I'm going to check on. So it's more like friendships. But like if I need something, I'm not really going to call them. Or if I need advice or if I'm troubled about something or I need to vent, I'm not really going to call them. I'm going to call this other partner that I'm prioritizing. But if I go to these cities, then I will hit them up. But there is no expectations from these relationships. I don't expect them to call me if they need something. I don't expect them to tell me if they have issues. I mean, I'm always there in case there is a problem and they want to talk. But I don't expect them to like come to me for me to be the main source of like emotional support. But when it comes to this person, and it's also really hard to like understand because at the beginning I was like, yeah, he's my priority, so he's gonna be my person, the person that I go to for emotional support. But that also becomes a lot of weight. Like one person cannot be the only person you go to for emotional support. So I feel like to be able to be in a healthy relationship, you also have to have a community behind you. It's like I got my best girlfriends, and I also have like male friends that I speak to, and I also have my family, and I also have people in the career that I have, like in the music industry, that can help me out with other stuff. It's like I have different people that I can rely on and that cater to all my needs, and this person is just like complementary. So he is like, at least he should come in to like add to all of that. But that's also like something that I'm shifting. Before I used to like kind of like put all that pressure on him, and then sometimes he was like, this is a little bit too much, like I shouldn't be the only one. And I'm like, of course, because this empathy that I'm looking for, I know that I'm not going to get it from him because that's just not the way he is. So I know that I have other friends that I can rely on to get that kind of empathy and to bring me up because they understand the struggles as a woman and like what I'm going through. So it's like having multiple people that can give you emotional support is really important.
I feel actually, like you said, I feel like that's the cheat code to a good relationship, especially if you're looking for a long-term stable relationship with somebody. It's very necessary for you to have a set of people that you can call your own, that you can rely on, especially if this one person that you're with is not going to fulfill those other needs. And it's not fair for you to put all your eggs in one basket and tell this person that, okay, listen, I want you to meet these needs of mine. It's just not fair to put all of that pressure on one person. Because I feel like you just said that, it's probably the best way to go about with any relationship. And of course, you can have your friends, you can have your parents, you can have your siblings whom you can reach out to. And they can probably be your backbone while you have a relationship, when you have relationship troubles. But again, sometimes this turns on you as well. Because, you might go and say something against your partner to them. And they'll remember it, but you will not. Like, that tends to happen most of the times. I feel most of the times relationships go sour because of that. Because you might go and say that, Jack was being rude to me. And then later on, Jack and you are back. But then, your friends are just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
But I mean that also like, there's a huge weight on how you speak about your partner. Yeah. It's like, if you're going to your friends and talking shit about your partner, but you're still dating them, like if you have enough respect for your partner, you can talk about your problems with your friends without putting them down. Correct. I think there's a huge difference between you venting and being disrespectful towards your partner because you're angry at them or whatever. But that is not genuine love for somebody. If you genuinely love somebody, you'll be like, okay, this person did this and that really triggered me and I'm upset. But you don't have to put them down. And in that way, your friends might remind you of that thing that he did, but it will never become a conflict. Correct. Or they'll never give their opinion about what your ex is like or whatever. Because that's another thing. Like, once you ask for your friend's opinion about a person, you gotta be able to take their opinion.
Yeah.
It's like when friends are like, bro, I don't like your girlfriend. I don't think you should get back with her. I don't like your boyfriend. I don't think you should get back with them. You gotta accept that. And it's like, okay, if I choose to get back with this person, I cannot think that suddenly my friend is gonna get along with them. Because I know they've told me that they don't like them and they don't get along with them and they don't think they're good for me. So
Has that happened with you?
No. Usually people tend to like me.
Oh, really?
Usually people tend to like me. And yes, I've been in relationships where my friends were like, we don't like this person and we think that they're gonna harm you. And I didn't listen to them at the beginning, and then it happened. And then of course, they will never be like, I told you. But they were like, I understand, because
you understand
we
that
saw it coming.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sometimes when you love, you don't see things coming. And even if, like, my mother's also told me sometimes, like, be careful with this person. It doesn't seem like his love is genuine and whatever. And you're like, nah, I know him and everything. Sometimes you got to make your own mistakes and you got to learn from them, and you got to figure out what love actually means to you and what are your boundaries. Like, if you only listen to what other people are saying and you're like, okay, no, I shouldn't do this with you because this person said this, then that's not you creating your own boundaries and understanding why you're doing it and what the intention is. So sometimes you got to go through bad experiences just to be like, okay, this I'm never accepting. This doesn't work for me. So if you want to be in a relationship, we got to do this. And so it's important to also make mistakes in relationships.
Yeah, I feel, of course, like you said, you've got to make mistakes in relationships to learn.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to play with fire a little to get your hand burned. But then the thing is, you shouldn't keep doing that. Because what happens is most of the times people repeat the same traits in different relationships. Because you're just projecting yourself in different forms in different people. And that usually tends to go south every time. And then you're just stuck there saying, why none of my relationships working out?
Oh, yeah.
And I also wanted to know if it's very different over there, because you live in France.
Yeah, I live in Paris.
Yeah, you live in Paris. And before that, you were living in Spain.
In Spain, yeah. In Malaga in the south.
Yeah, just tell me about your life, because it's so confusing.
God,
you were born in Goa.
Yeah, so I was born in Goa, but I left when I was 2 years and a half.
Okay.
So first I moved to Portugal. I lived in Portugal for a year. We got Portuguese nationality to be able to live in Europe. Then I moved to Spain. So I grew up in Spain, did my whole schooling and everything in Malaga in the south of Spain.
Yeah.
And then when I was 18, I didn't really know where to go to study because I came from like a humble family, and my mother already had a loan for my brother's education because he went to England. So I was like, where can I go to study where it's cheap?
Yeah.
And I found that it was really cheap to go to study in France, so I just moved there.
And what did you go to study there?
First I studied linguistics. I have a bachelor in linguistics, and then I did a master's in gender studies. So like I studied like equality in society and all of that. And then I just started making music when I was in France, so I stayed there. I've been in France for like 14 years now, since 2011. Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, 14 years is not that long a time, though, but it is.
It's not that long, but like I thought that I was just gonna go and then come back, you know, come back home. And
but where would home be? Would you come back to India? Were you?
No, I would probably go to Spain. But I feel like with the path that I took of me becoming independent and having to figure out my own shit, and because when I got there, I could barely speak French.
Yeah.
And I had to do all my paperwork and you know, do my handle my accommodation and find a job and do all these things in French. And it really pushed me to be like, okay, I can actually do it. So then like today moving doesn't seem like a big issue to me. Like if somebody told me you would have to move to India to do something, I'll be like, okay, cool, I'll figure it out.
You're okay with change now?
Yeah, I'm okay with change because I know that I can adapt to anything.
Yeah.
And then I also know what I can accept and what I can't accept. Like that there are certain like jobs that I wouldn't accept today, others that I know that I can make great things out of it. I know where my strengths are and I know where my weaknesses are as well. And I just feel like I am a very resourceful person. So like even if I have like no budget to do something, I will find a way to like figure it out and go knock on people's doors. And that's what I did. Like that's how I became a rapper at the beginning. I was the only girl at like all the cyphers and the open mics, and everybody was like, your shit is not going to work. You're here rapping in English. Nobody understands what you're saying, because this was in France. And France has like a real hip hop culture.
Yeah, it does.
And so I was like, anyway, I'm going to keep on doing my thing. And then now everybody's like, oh, it's so cool. You rap in 3 languages. And I'm like, yeah, none of you believed in me at the beginning, but I just stuck to my shit. And then it suddenly like started working. But I feel like, yeah, I have a great way of grinding. I have good work ethics. And I know that no matter what I put my head to, I'm going to be able to figure something out and do something great with it.
So what all did you do once you moved to France? Like you were studying at the same time you were writing. You were like you're taking part in ciphers, you were rapping.
Yeah.
And then when did you get into production as such? Like do you produce as well, or were you just rapping on the beats?
No, at that point I was just like rapping on beats, and I was also part of a dance crew.
Okay.
And I was also like managing some dance classes, and I was teaching English and Spanish on the side. Like I've always had like multiple hustles. Then I started working at the airport. So I had like a student job at the airport during the weekends, and then again I was like teaching and doing my projects. I started like releasing my first music in 2014. I released my first mixtape. Then I went to do my master's, and they actually sent me to Romania to do like an Erasmus, so like an exchange program. I went to Romania. I didn't know shit about the language. I got a job there. I was working for Groupon.
Okay.
I was also taking dance hall classes, and I had my own friends, and I was like doing plenty of stuff. Then I came back to Lyon, where I was before, and I worked at the airport again. Then I got another job working on a project that aimed to improve security for women in public transport. So I've always like done multiple things, and I've always like been teaching on the side just to get like some pocket money and everything. And then when I moved, so I was still in Lyon in like 2017, 2018. I was like dropping some music. I found this lady that wanted to like find gigs for me. Like I did this little like mentoring program thing, and then she was like, I feel like your music is very different. I would love to like try and find gigs for you. And I was like, what? You want to work with me? And what? I was like very confused at how like the whole industry worked.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool, let's try it out. And then like she became my manager. And then I did like this kind of like national competition in France that gave me some visibility. And so I was contacted by numerous labels, but all the labels were like, yeah, you should like rap in French, or we'll only bring you in if you do a certain style of music. Because as a woman, people will always be like, yeah, you need to do melodic stuff, or you need to do music that is for girls because your public will be more girls, or your rap is too violent and too fast, you need to like chill the fuck out. And I was like, no, that's not what I want to do. So I ended up signing with a label, an independent label that actually liked my music and was gonna allow me to be the mind behind it, and was gonna like let me create whatever I wanted. So I signed with them, dropped my first album in 2019, and then from there I just like started touring. So now I live from music. I've dropped 3 albums. I tour like internationally. Last year, like in 2024, I toured with 5 different shows.
Oh, wow.
Like I can also MC for like DJs. I have a live band as well, and I've created a new show that talks about like social media, a relationship with social media. So we're 6 girls on stage. So it's like now a lot of venues, they just trust me, and they'll be like, okay, we have funding for this project. Do you want to handle it? I'll be like, okay.
Yeah, why not?
And I also like give workshops, and I am also like about to launch my own podcast called The Pussy Talks.
Hey, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Because I've been doing conferences with like Pussy Talks for a long time. And I also opened this thing called the Pussy Club, where I also mentor other girls to help them, find more resources to develop their careers in music. So now I'm thinking of actually opening my own label called Pussy Records. So it's like a whole, there's always a million projects.
The Pussy Records has got such a cool ring to it. Like, it sounds like a mob boss's name.
Oh, yeah?
And it got like, a record label with it.
But all of this requires so much like money and funding.
Yeah,
and I feel like I don't have financial literacy because I come from like a humble home. So we didn't have like multiple businesses, and my mother didn't have the vision of, what it was like to do that. So I'm like learning what all of these things are today, and how to find money, and how to like build projects and ask for funding and all these things. But it just requires
That's one step at a time.
Yeah.
It's really nice though what all you're diversifying into. It's really cool, because I remember the last time when we met, you were talking about the Pussy Club, and we had a lot of like, conversation was around that. And I also remember once, I think I'd seen you at High Spirits in Pune when you were performing, and you had a flag which had like these different pussies on it. And I was like, bro, that's kind of cool, because it's still stuck in my head, because I still remember that flag on stage. And then I think after that we had recorded an episode together, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, probably.
But it was pretty cool. And just tell me more about it. Like, what exactly is the Pussy Club, and why do you, why is such a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Why am I so obsessed with the pussy?
not obsessed with the pussy. No, what's like a flag bearer for it? Yeah. Flag bearer is the word I was looking for.
It's because when I started making music, everybody was like reminding me 24/7 that I was a woman. It's like, no, you need to do like you need to do things like this because you're a girl. You need to dress like this because you're a girl. You need to be careful with how you talk because you're a girl. You shouldn't talk to this rapper because you're a girl and you don't know if he's sharing your music just to see with you or if he actually fucks with your music. And everything was about me being reminded of my genitals. So at some point I was like, okay, if everybody's gonna throw this in my face 24/7, I might as well make it something powerful. Yeah. And so my logo became a big vulva.
Yeah.
And then then that also opened a lot of conversations because a lot of people don't know what a vulva looks like.
Yeah.
And like sometimes teenage boys and even like adult men will come up to me and they'll be like, what is that? Are those lips? And I'll be like, yeah, definitely some other kind of lips, but yeah. And it's also really funny to see that conversation that opens up and like the kind of attention that I get from that. But also I feel like a lot of people judged me because I started talking about sex and about bodies and my relationship to my body. And at some point I had an OnlyFans account.
Oh, yes. The last time you were around, I think you had one.
Yeah. So everybody's like, yeah, now you're selling your body. You're doing all this to get attention. The only reason why you're getting bookings is because you have a nice face and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, being a woman and doing what you want with your body is always going to be very intimidating to other people, and they're always going to have an opinion about what you should and should not do. So this banner is also like, you know, pussy power. Pussy power is about you choosing whatever you want to do. It's about you choosing the direction you take with your life. So it's all about
more
empowering.
about empowerment.
Yeah.
You also mentioned your OnlyFans. How long were you on it for?
Like a year and a half, but there were times...
How was that though? Like, I'm so curious because I've never met someone. Like, the only person I met was you probably from back then. And I think you were still active back then.
Probably because I had periods where I was really on it, and then periods where I was like, fuck it, I don't have time for this. Because it also requires a lot of like attention. You got to like text back and you got to...
What do you got to do? Like, how does the platform work? Like the back end of it, not the front end, of course. What sort of a creator were you?
I was like a chill creator. I wasn't doing too much at the beginning. I was just like posting pictures of like me in like a bathing suit or like a bikini. And then I started doing a little bit more videos where I would show a little bit more of my body, but I really wasn't doing like anything crazy. Yeah. But what was crazy is that like 2 of my biggest clients were women.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and literally it was a lot more fun with them because I felt a lot more relaxed with them because I mean I didn't think that they were gonna be creepy about anything, and I knew that they were not gonna like share my photos because.
But how did that work? Like did you have to talk to them or something?
Yeah. So so what happens on OnlyFans is that you post pictures on your feed and then you have like a monthly subscription. So I had like a $5 thing, but then if you really want to get money, you got to go through like private messages. So what you do is that you send a picture and the picture is blurry, but it says like $20. So for them to see the picture, you have to pay $20.
Okay.
And sometimes you don't know if they don't know if they're going to get their money's worth or not, right? So sometimes I would send like photos and like get paid for like 50 euros.
That's a big amount for just one picture.
Yeah. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, it's a great picture. I love it. And they'll be totally okay with the price. So it depends on what kind of lifestyles they have. Sometimes they'll be like, okay, this is a little bit too expensive. Can you send me another free photo? But none of my photos were really that crazy. So I was like, okay, cool, whatever. But yeah, I started building, like, I didn't have a huge community. I literally had, I don't know, the max I've had is maybe like 50 people following me, but I wasn't like active with the 50 people. And also when guys started like getting creepy, I'd be like, no, I don't want to talk to you, and I just like leave them there.
So the entire platform works on, like, let's say I join the platform, I post a picture, and then people come, they follow me, and if they want to see more, they got to pay extra for that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Because I thought it was just like a 1-month subscription fee wherein everything is included.
Oh, no.
So then after there are more add-ons to it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it all depends on what kind of platform you have. If you want to do that and all your content is only on your feed, then you can have a monthly subscription of like, I don't know, $40 because you're putting your main content on your feed.
Yeah.
But because I didn't want everybody to see that, and also the photos that go on your feed can end up on Google. Like there are photos that I put on my feed that you can find, unfortunately, on Google. Yeah. While like the other photos that I send privately can't really be traced unless the person that received them puts them on a platform. But none of those have been shared. I had like the community that followed me on OnlyFans are also people that respect my work. Yeah. And that respected my my artistry and everything. So there would never be people that would share these things. What actually came and leaked my photos was some like. American bots that suddenly I was seeing on like Google a rapper, Tracy, like none of my fans would say that I'm a rapper. They would just say my name or anything like that. So all the like headlines that were released with like my leaked photos, you could tell that it was like some kind of machine or some kind of like other weird thing that shared them.
So they just took pictures from your profile and they leaked them.
So I don't even know if they actually subscribed. I don't really know. But OnlyFans try to help me, and like whenever I decided to like take down my account. They help me like deactivate it, but still keep it. And then, so the staff actually answers. So if you have an issue, you can actually contact them. But of course, they can't handle Google. Like they can like send a request for somebody on a website, on a private website to take the photo down. But whatever ends up on Google, and if you can't access the person that actually put it there, then you can't really, you don't have a say into anything.
But I also feel maybe the bigger the creator, the easier it might get for them to take it down, because it takes away from their premium model. So maybe they might have a team in place for that. It's actually so interesting how this works, because in India, it's not allowed. OnlyFans is banned in India.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you cannot be a creator in India on OnlyFans. So what I've heard is that people will make an account in the US and then they go through it. But then I never knew it also has this one-on-one conversations or one-on-one interactions that you sell. So that I don't know how they'll be going through with it, because of course you have to log into the OnlyFans website for it. It's quite interesting though.
I think that there's the easy solution is to find like a VPN thing where you can change the location. But that is the whole goal of OnlyFans is to be able to interact with the people you like. And it's also being able to send them requests. Like somebody could send me a request and be like, I want you to take a photo doing this pose.
What's the weirdest request you've gotten?
What is the weirdest request? I mean, I've had people like ask me really like stuff like, can I get a video of you like playing with your parts and everything? And I was like, no, I don't do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think that's a weird or creepy thing. It's just that it's not for me, because I don't want that kind of videos outside. But like people have been asking me to like do freestyles in like lingerie and stuff like that. So it's like they want to listen to my music, but so there's something like really weirdly
they
sexual
want like a visual appeal to it. Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know if I actually want to do that. It's like either you listen to my music, like it's two separate worlds kind of a thing. But I get it, like a lot of girls do that on like Twitch and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but it's just like the way I feel like I sell my music is one thing, and then OnlyFans was just like it wasn't even a hobby. It was just like a quick way of like getting some cash, because I needed like to pay for my lifestyle. Being a female rapper requires a lot of money, because you need styling, you need hair, you need nails, you need to pay for like good artistic directors and videographers and whatever. Being a man just requires for you to show up with some kind of clothes on, and nobody really cares about what you're wearing. So being a female rapper requires a lot of like resources and money, and it requires a lifestyle. Like you if somebody books you a hotel, like a venue books you a hotel, and you don't want to stay there because it's in a creepy area or whatever, you want to like be able to like figure your own thing out, or getting an Uber from like the outside of Paris from a venue to your house. All that requires money. And I was like, I just need to have a better lifestyle, so I'm just gonna do this to help me get this better lifestyle. I wasn't never about like me just selling my body for selling my body.
You did it just for the extra cash.
Yeah, and also, but I'm not afraid of talking about it. It's not something that I am ashamed of at all. It's an experience that I wanted to go through, because I was like, I want to see what this feels like. And also, it also helped me with my own perspective of my own body, because like I was a very insecure person within my own body. And then when I started just taking photos of myself, I was like, okay, I actually like the curves that I have. Like, look at this shape is actually beautiful. At the beginning, you get really paranoid, because you're like, oh my God, they can see this and my stretch marks, and this doesn't look great, because you compare yourself to like Victoria's Secret models and all these things. But I feel like, you know, all these nudes and everything has helped in that sense, as in you can see all types of bodies being praised and celebrated and being admired. And then it also helped me with like my own need for male validation. Yeah. Because at the beginning, I used to love when people would be like, oh, you're so pretty. Oh, I love this about you. Your body is crazy. And then I kind of like got addicted to that. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I feel sexy because these guys think I'm sexy. And then when I started like, when I didn't have time to like post photos and everything, I was like, okay, what does it feel now to be in your body without having all these men tell you that you're sexy? Do you still feel sexy? So that's when I had to like work on myself, as in, okay, no matter how much I weigh, no matter what kind of photos I put out, no matter how I feel with my career, whatever, my relationship with my body is a priority, because it's always going to be my body. Yeah. And I really need to work on me feeling beautiful with what I have. So I also like stop wearing makeup. Like I don't wear foundation, I don't wear concealer. It's also like accepting the flaws in your face, because it's like, this is my face. It's the beauty of your face. Yeah, and it's just like, this is my face. I'm not going to pretend to be somebody else. But with like the boom of Photoshop and especially being a brown girl, a lot of like the role models or the beauty standards in Europe are like you being thin and you being white. Like it got to a point where even when I was doing photo shoots for my music, people used to make my skin
lighter,
fairer, and lighter, and it was like, this is not me, this doesn't even look like me, kind of a thing. So it's like also me standing my ground on like me being brown is important, and you got to show that I'm brown. I'm not trying to fit into you have
a song as well,
box.
Brown and Proud.
Brown and Proud, yes. Look at you, well done.
Thank you. No, I just remember it. But I feel like this beauty standards in at least Europe and America, do they not like people who are slightly of a darker skin tone? Because it's a little exotic for them. So as to say is what I've heard. I've never experienced it firsthand, but I think that most of the times they like the Latin complexion is something that is usually looked upon. It's looked like, people find it attractive. That's what I've heard from the internet.
The internet? Great source. I feel like there's something that's very important to say is like when you find something exotic and you're making a fetish out of it, that's really dangerous. It's like men that slept with me only because I was Indian and expected me to do some Kama Sutra poses, or thought that I was really flexible because I'm Indian, so I do yoga. Or just because they have this fantasy of porn of, raping their maid. I am not any of that. So it's like all these projections, cultural projections that people are putting on me are really dangerous for all brown women from my community, and it's also dangerous to the kinds of relationships I'm going to be in. That's why when you have like mixed race couples, you got to be really careful. Like when I've slept with like black men, I've been very careful with the way I speak to them and what I tell them, because they are also fetishized. Is that the word they use?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like they have also become a fetish. Like people want to sleep with black men because they say they have like big dicks or whatever. They're great in bed. Some do, some don't. It's like Indian men, There's a lot of like myths about Indian men, but some Indian men have small dicks and some have good dicks. So it's like, and some have big dicks as well. Don't get that confused. But it's like you gotta value the person. It's not about what the cultural background they represent.
Yeah.
And also these are communities that have a big colonial background and have a history of slavery and of torture and violence. So why would you reproduce that kind of violence on them and expect them to cater to, I don't know, some weird fantasy of yours? Yeah. That's why all these videos on like porn websites sometimes are like, all these videos about like men fucking a girl with a hijab or whatever. It's like, oh my God, please don't watch that.
Yeah. I feel porn has kind of destroyed a lot of the way people interact with women, at least for men. Because, the thing is, you start watching it at a young age. And if you're surrounded by your friends, someone's going to come up to you and show you a video, or you're going to be inquisitive, you're going to see it. And people don't understand when they get addicted to it. Because that is so, I feel like it's poles apart from reality, which people really don't understand. And that destroys relationships again. Because again, you're expecting your partner to reach that level that you've seen. Like you mentioned, like people have been with you because they think that you do yoga. And that's only because they've probably seen it in some sort of porn where they're just like, okay, fine, an Indian person is going to be able to do these things. And I think for people to learn where to draw the line when they're getting addicted to it or when to stop, and realize that there is a huge line between this fake and this is real, it's something that people can't wrap their heads around, which is quite unfortunate.
And I'll go even like beyond from that, because I am somebody that does watch porn, and like it just fucks up your brain, like the way you sexualize people.
Yeah.
Without the need of them being sexualized. It's like something automatic that just happens in your brain, like the chemicals or whatever. You see people sexualizing other bodies, even if they're like your teacher or your grandmother, whatever. Like porn has all these weird relationships. And then automatically your brain learns how to sexualize other bodies. And that's really dangerous. And me as an adult woman, I know when I tell my brain to be like, oh my God, why are you sexualizing this? Or why are you making this situation sexual? It has nothing sexual in it. Like calm the fuck down. But I'm an adult woman that can process it. So imagine what it's doing to brains of like teenagers and 10-year-old kids. I remember actually being in Bombay last year and walking on the street, and this little boy with a uniform came up to me. He must have been like 13, and he showed me a video, and it was some sexual porn video. Obviously, I didn't really look at it. And he was like, can you do this? And I was like, bro, what the fuck?
That's
And I
so
literally-
random.
Yeah, and I literally like started screaming at him. Poor thing. I should have actually stopped and like actually
Yeah.
spoken to him, but I think he didn't know English very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing this? You shouldn't even be watching this. You're so small. You're
You're so
wearing a
young."
school uniform."
Why does he have a phone at that age? And why is he watching porn in public?
Or maybe he thought that because I looked foreigner, I would be like open to having a sexual relationship. So that is what it does
Yeah.
to your brain. It's like every woman, especially if she's not from here, then she's a slut kind of a thing, or she'll be
Yeah.
able to do this for you.
It rots your brain.
Yeah, and it just puts, again, it creates a gap between the relationships that we have between
Yeah.
different genders, because it's like then they only become a tool where you can put your dick inside and come, and that's not what we are. We're not a sex toy. We're humans. We're people.
Yeah, both genders.
Yeah, both genders, because women do that to men as well,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, that's why I think that watching porn should come with a lot of education, and the more we keep porn a taboo, the worse it's gonna be. Like we should actually be talking to our kids about porn, about what it means, about how to find porn that they actually like. Some people watch stuff that they don't even like because they think that that's what they should be watching.
Yeah. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
what they've heard around, saying that,
Yeah.
oh, you should watch this. It's a nice genre. And then they'll go around watching it just for the sake of it.
Yeah, one day after a concert, like this boy was talking to me about like what the vulva was on my flag thing, and then he was like, "What is double penetration?" So I told him what double penetration was, and he was like, "Oh my god, I don't want to do that." My friends were saying that I should do that because I'm 13 or whatever, and I have a girlfriend, but I don't want to do that. And I was like, "That's cool. You don't have to do it, with like the pressure."
Yeah. Have you been on dating apps? You mentioned like you were on Tinder, you were on a date through that.
Yeah, I was. I have been a couple of times on dating apps, but I don't really think it works for me because a lot of people just like end up seeing my Instagram and then they create this idea of who I am and what I do and everything, and it doesn't really. It's like either you end up on a date with like guys that are like in admiration of
Yeah.
who you are, but that's not really what you want. You
Worship the ground you walk
yeah.
on.
And then, or other guys that are like really like, okay, well, you're a female rapper. Well, then the ego comes in. And you're like, well, I do this and I don't want you to do this and I don't want you to go like that or dress like this. If you date me, I don't want you putting up photos where I can see your cleavage. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's not up to you, bro. So it's like, sometimes I feel like there's a disconnection between what happens on the apps and then
Yeah.
the reality. I actually want to meet somebody and vibe with them. And then I'll be like, okay, cool, let's go on a date. And also, I really believe in women shooting their shot. Like go for it. Like, if
Do you, though?
like-
Have you done
yeah,
that?
100%, yeah.
I feel it's very like it doesn't happen much over here because most of the times women are just like quite uptight even if they're into you. I feel they'll never make the first move because they've always been told so that if the guy likes you, he'll make the first move. So I think it's pretty cool that you're advocating this. That, people
go for it.
I think anyone who likes someone should make the move, and respectfully though.
Respectfully, of course.
Respectfully, of course. That's the key word.
And also accept the result. Like even like I've been rejected by guys, and guy was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in a relationship. Oh, sorry, I'm just not feeling it. You're not
Yeah.
my type." Or maybe you're like too much for me. Like I don't feel.
What's the
myself
best way to turn down someone? What do you think is the most subtle way to turn down someone?
Just being honest. It's just
Yeah.
like being like, you're a great person. I mean, if you think they're great, there's no point in them lying. But like, you're a great person. I just don't think we would be a good match or we would be compatible. And that's it. Cool. There's nothing you can take personally from that.
Yeah.
If you're like, if somebody told me like, I mean, no, you're ugly as fuck, then yeah, of course I can take it in a bad way. But if you just say we're not compatible, I don't think it will work out. Then you're like, okay, cool. Thank you for your answer. Thank you for not keeping me in the dark or playing with me.
Yeah.
You're like, great, you're being honest. That's the least we should be giving to people. It's just
Of
honesty.
course. I think it's more about just having a straight conversation with people and respecting the other person's opinion and also respecting how they might feel and just being honest with them. There's also something that you mentioned that I really wanted to bring up because I feel a lot of people who might be watching this will go, you mentioned about how you used to do a lot of things to seek male validation. How did you overcome that, or do you feel like you're still overcoming it? Or how has your relationship with that changed? Because most of the people, I don't think they understand that they're doing it just to seek male validation. It's a lot easier for women to get male validation. And it becomes addictive after a while because you're just like, okay, I'm attractive, or these guys find me good looking. So how do you actually learn that? How do you reflect upon yourself that, okay, I'm doing this just for male validation and I need to stop? What exactly did you do, or do you feel like you're still in the process of working on that?
I think I'm definitely still in the process. It's going to take a whole lifetime to work on that, especially because I didn't really grow up with a father. So for me, it's like about sometimes it's about like filling that void, and about finding somebody that is going to choose me and, you know, give me that love that maybe I missed out on when I was a kid. But that's also a really toxic thing to do, because your partner is never going to replace your dad. It's like two very different relationships. But also the like we were talking about beauty standards, the attention you can get from men is going to be different depending on the country you're in. Like when I first moved to France, I was like, I am nobody's type over here. I'm totally invisible. Like people see me as an immigrant. They don't want to date me.
Yeah.
And the guys that do want to date me are going to like fetishize me. So it's like, I don't want this either. So it's also like finding your own control of what you want. I don't want to sleep with every guy that wants me. I want to sleep with the guys that I want to sleep with. And that should also be a choice. And you not sleeping with anybody is also a great choice. You don't have to sleep with somebody to feel worthy.
Yeah.
And you can also have a platonic relationship with a man without having to sleep with him. It's like, 'cause sometimes it's very confusing for us when we like going on a date with a guy and he doesn't even make a sexual move.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, does he find me attractive? Does he actually...
That makes you doubt your self-worth?
Yeah, at the beginning I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. And then it's like, wow, the bar is so low that when a guy respects us, we're like, oh my God, what is happening? It's because, a lot of our the way women are portrayed in music, in films, on social media is your worth comes from being attractive.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel attractive within yourself, then none of the other things matter. It's like, when I come to India, a lot of people look at me on the streets and everything, but that is not going to make me feel attractive. I don't know. That's also a weird thing to think. And my phone is like super dry. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, a lot of men are probably hitting on you. Literally nobody hits on me. It's like, if I don't make the first move, like I feel like I intimidate a lot of people, and like a lot of men are very afraid to like talk to me. So like, if I don't make the first move, I will be like so bored in life. But at the same time, it's like, why am I making this move? I actively choose to spend time with this person. It's not about me fulfilling a void and me finding my self-worth and my self-confidence and my self-esteem from that interaction. And that's really important, because when that interaction disappears, who are you? Who are you without that male validation? And if you're no one because you only depend on that, then that's just gonna like become stronger. There's gonna be an addiction to like get guys and sleep with guys and give them attention, because all you want is for them to love you. And at the end of the day, it's all wrong love. It's not genuine love. It's not authentic love. So if you don't love yourself and provide that attention and that support and that love and that appreciation towards yourself, it's never going to be genuine when it comes from the outside.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, I want to bring this up because there's so many people who do it unknowingly. There's so many people who do it knowingly as well. It gives them a kick. It gives them a thrill. But I feel it spoils their future relationships. And it kind of ruins the person to a certain degree, I'd say. Because, you don't realize that, because sex is a transfer of energy. And you don't want to be giving your energy out to just anybody and everybody just for the sake of it. And what happens is when you're trying to get validated, even men tend to do this, where they just try to sleep with as many women as possible because they probably had a poor relationship with their mother, or it's like a competition with their father where they're just like, okay, I've seen him do this and I want to emulate that, or I want to be different, I want to beat him. It comes from very different places because everyone is carrying so much baggage, which I feel they don't really sit down and think about. And that's why I asked you how you were working on it, because like you said, you grew up without a father and you knew that you were trying to project that onto the people that you were meeting. And I feel like it's so important for girls, younger girls, for younger guys to actually sit down and realize what traits they're trying to, project on another person, and whether they are correct in what they're doing, whether they're wrong in what they're doing, and how to actually tackle that. Does therapy help with that? Or did you feel like you managed to get a hold of it before that?
No, definitely. Therapy definitely helped me, even though it took time. At the beginning, I think I've been in therapy for like 3 years now.
Okay.
The first year, I was like super depressed. It was super bad because all these things come out and then you start realizing so many things and you become so self-aware about, and you're like, fuck, I'm like, am I crazy? Am I a bad person? Am I stupid? Like, what the hell is going on? So you like question a lot of things, and then you slowly start deconstructing, and then your ideas start changing, and you're like, okay, nothing is good or bad. You're just a human being making decisions. And then, okay, I made some bad decisions, but I can get over it by doing this. And then you try to like actively make an effort to be aligned. But I remember going to therapy and telling my therapist like, oh my God, I got to fix this. And she was like, listen, healing doesn't require a to-do list. you just gotta accept how things are and focus on being better and focus on making decisions that align with what you actually want. But you don't have anything to fix within yourself. You just got to heal and maybe accept or make peace with some things that happened in your past.
Yeah.
And then moving forward, you will automatically make better decisions. But like this acceptance thing of like accepting your story and why things happen to you and regaining your power because you don't want to feel like a victim to your past anymore. It requires patience because some days you're gonna feel super strong and then some days you're gonna feel like, oh my God, why am I so hurt? Why am I so broken? Why am I so imperfect? And then you realize that nobody is perfect and everybody is crazy and everybody is going through their own issues, and all you gotta do is try to communicate as much as you can because nobody is perfect. So at least if you're saying things and you're self-aware enough to be like, okay, I'm triggered from this, or right now I'm going to say something really stupid. I don't know how you're going to take it. But if you're just being honest and aligned with what you feel you should be doing, then that's the only way to move forward. But healing, it's a lifelong experience because today you have these wounds. In another 5 years you might have a family, you have other wounds, then your career might get fucked up, and then you'll have other wounds. It's like things change all the time. But I feel like recently I've been talking to somebody that always talks about how he practices radical happiness.
Okay.
And I feel like that's such a beautiful thing, is like choosing to be happy every day, even on the days where you feel low. You're like, okay, it doesn't matter. Tomorrow will be a better day and I'll figure this thing out, or I'm going to go ask for help. Like, because asking for help is also something very difficult.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and call a friend and just vent, or I'm going to go run, or I'm going to go paint, or I'm going to go journal. All these things are active methods of actually digesting what you're feeling and regulating your emotions. So at least if you're trying to do these things, it's already a great sign.
Yeah.
It's a sign that you care about yourself. It's a sign that you care about the people that are around you and you want to do better and you want to feel better. So you just wanting to feel better is already a great step. Because what happens is that when you feel super down and depressed, you just stay in that state.
Yeah. It's difficult to get yourself out of that.
Yeah. And if you start spiraling and everything, it just gets worse and worse. So you're actively being like, okay, I need to disconnect from that and go into a better space, and it's already a great feeling. And it has definitely helped me in my relationship with men. It's like I definitely still have insecurities and I still have fears, but I am a little bit more self-aware, so I can explain where these things are coming from. And then if it doesn't work out with the other person because it's too much for them, then that's okay. I also feel aligned with that. Okay, it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be. Before I used to be like, oh my God, I will never find a relationship and no man will ever understand me. And why did my father do this? Because this is fucked up. I mean, I get it. But at some point, it's like if you are going to choose to be a victim every day, nothing is going to work out. But if you're like, okay, this person wasn't for me, I'm definitely going to find something better. Because life just, has a way of like putting you where you have to be. So you just trust in that process, and you trust in your worth, and you trust that you are loved no matter what. If you're single, in a relationship, outside, traveling, whatever, you are always loved. And just repeating that to yourself all the time, you're loved, you're safe. People want the best for you. People see you in a great way. People admire you. Just reminding yourself of that already boosts your energy in such great ways.
This is such a fun episode. It's more like, self-love, how to fix yourself, and then how to get into a relationship. It's so different compared to the first time when we met.
Oh,
Do you remember?
For sure. Oh my God.
I feel like it's such a nice, mature conversation that the two of us are having. I genuinely enjoyed this because, it's so nice to see that probably the conversation that we had 2 years ago was purely sexual. It was just like, about sex. And it was like, if I go here, I have this. If I do this, I have that. And this is how you should be with women and all of that. But now the whole conversation is just so grown up. I feel like someone who listened to this, it's more like a therapy session where you're going to learn to work on yourself and then find a partner, and not to just drag a relationship out just for the sake of it. It's but
also, like, what is important to say is that you don't always have to wait to be healed to get into a relationship.
Exactly.
But you have to be willing to work on this healing process. Because if you're self-aware and you know all your issues, but you're not doing anything actively about them, and you decide to go into a relationship, everything is gonna drastically come out in one way or another. It's gonna explode. But if you're actively working on these things and you have support systems and you are able to communicate and say what you feel, and you have a different way of processing things and explain it to your partner, like, listen, I'm really angry right now. I'm gonna take a minute and then I'll come back and say things to you, then the other person can't say anything to you. They're like, okay, they're being honest, they're trying. But if you're just like throwing trash at your partner and expecting them to just take it all and still support you, that's never gonna work out. So it's the same thing. It's like your partner is also the way they communicate with you is also important, and that's where your self-love also requires you setting boundaries. And it's like, okay, if I don't want him to talk to me like that, then you say it. Like, all these things just make better relationships and healthier relationships.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Thank
Tracy.
you.
Is there anything else you want to bring up? Is there something you want to talk
Nothing.
about?
Pussy power. And the next time I want a sex toy, okay? Give me a
Yes, 100%. I'll bring it. The table will be filled with sex toys.
Yay.
And we'll review all of them.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much, Tracy. This was so
you.
much fun.